right. Welcome, everyone, to the Champaign Public Library's webinar of our Business Brown Bag series, Pivoting to Success. My name is Madeline Wolski. I am the business librarian here at Champaign Public Library, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar. So before we get started, I'd like to cover some brief Zoom how-tos and library housekeeping. So we are open to the public. You can come into the library as long as you wear a mask over both your mouth and nose at all times. But if you're uncomfortable coming in, we are able to help you virtually. So you can always contact us for an in-depth one-on-one. That's our Book a Librarian service, and that can again be virtual or in person. And you can just schedule that at champaign.org/bookalibrarian. We're also available over live chat, and that is only during our open hours, which is Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Oh my goodness, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday from noon to 6. You can also email us essentially at your leisure, whenever you'd like to, at librarian@champaign.org. So some brief Zoom things. If you would like to ask questions of the panelists, send me some info, need help troubleshooting, feel free to utilize the chat function or raise your hand. And you'll find that if you hover your mouse in the middle bottom of your screen, go ahead and click on chat. The one thing to make sure of is knowing who you're sending that message to, and you can edit that by clicking that to all panelists or everyone. The only difference is if you send it just to the panelists, only myself, Johan, and Anne will be able to see it. If you send it to everyone in the webinar will be able to see it. And on that note, we are recording today's webinar and it will be made available on our YouTube channel. So if you have to leave in the middle of it, no worries. It will be emailed to you later. All right, and then also, so raise a hand if you don't feel comfortable typing in a question and you would prefer to verbalize anything. Feel free to click on that raise hand function, which again, if you just hover over the bottom center of your screen, click it, I will unmute you, and then you'll be able to ask a question to our panel today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen sharing so you can see our incredible panelists. Today we have, let me make sure it's on the right screen. Let's do a grid pattern. I feel like that'd be nice. Today we have Johann Rischau, who is a co-owner of Norden at Home in Papapo. And then we also have Anne Lukeman joining us of CU, Time and Space Adventures in Time and Space.
Nailed it.
Thank you. My mind is just really enjoying reversing some sentence structures today.
You can really put any of the words in our name in any order and it still makes just as much sense.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that. Makes it easy to mess up and make correct. All right, well, so first off, Anne, would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what is CU Adventures in Time and Space?
Sure. CU Adventures in Time and Space is an escape room company. I own it together with my husband, Chris. We are really into very strong production design and narrative storytelling. Our background is in filmmaking, so we kind of carried that through into our escape room design. We're a very large facility. I would say we're probably one of the largest in the Midwest, probably not the largest, but close. And we have lots of very good reviews. Right now we have 4 games. One of them is closed because it has an actor interaction. So we have 3 games going on right now, but we are working on a 5th game that is spaceship themed that we're hoping to launch in the fall.
Well, that's exciting. And just so in case someone doesn't know what an escape room is, like
what is
that?
So it's a live action puzzle experience where you're in a physically designed space, like a movie set kind of level of production. And you search for clues, use those clues to solve puzzles, and then use what you get from solving those puzzles to advance through the narrative storyline. And there's usually some kind of end objective that you're trying to find. Historically, that was escaping the room, getting the code or key to unlock the door. We've never done that. We've always found our narratives are more interesting when we have people, defuse a nuclear warhead, or defeat a wizard in a duel, or perform a ritual to dispel evil spirits in a spooky cabin, stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
That's what we do.
Well, fun. All right, Johan, would you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Johann Rischau, and I'm originally from Germany. I'm a trained designer. I studied industrial design and interior design, woodworking. Together with my wife, I have a company called Norden, and under this company, we work with businesses on commercial product design. We work with residential customers on interior design, and we also make products. And then my wife has a business called Pipapo, where she does wood jewelry that we laser in our workshop. And right now, I am here at home with my son, who is playing underneath the screen here. You don't see him all the time, but you probably will hear him. His name is Paul, and he just turned 2 years old.
Well, so, happy belated birthday, Polly.
Did you hear that, Paul? Look, there's Anne with the pink hair.
Hi, I can't wait to hear your business advice, Paul.
So,
well, great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So I really like that we have both of your businesses here, because what you do is pretty different as far as working with businesses and creating kind of an elevated sense of design, identifying their brand in their space, also manufacturing products. And then, Anne, you're more of a customer service experience. I mean, it's tourism. Yeah. So two different businesses, two different industries. I feel like we're going to get a lot of really cool input here. So during last year, right around lockdown time, when did you realize you needed to adapt and pivot? Essentially, your business model needed to change.
It was so fast for us. We knew that, COVID was coming and that it was going to be a problem. We were sanitizing everything starting like early March, maybe between early and mid-March. And it was like the Saturday before the lockdown started, we went from trying to figure out how we could space out games to do better cleaning and keep people not in the lobby at the same time, to 12 hours later realizing that we were going to need to fully shut down. And this was before the state issued shutdown occurred. It was just, we so quickly realized that this was not something we were going to be able to sustain being open and keeping things clean and keeping people, safe and healthy. And all of our game masters were starting to feel nervous. We were starting to feel nervous. And it was just, we were making all of these different contingency plans all at the same time. And it happened really, really, really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Johan, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I mean, our business at that time worked very differently. I was involved in a big project where I was working mostly with myself and other contractors. So it was not such a big change, but we definitely saw the impact, because one day I was going to order material for a project, and the supplier here in town that I chose, that I already quoted the materials, they shut down. So they were not able to get us the material. And then we, had to 6 weeks long, 6 week longer wait time till we finally figured out where we got the material from. So at that point, it kind of sunk in that this whole pandemic is not gonna just be as easy as we thought it would be. And then all the events and markets for Pipapo closed down. And then slowly it dawned upon us that, we wouldn't know what was coming. I mean, it's kind of that's kind of tough pill to swallow. Takes time to realize, holy cow.
Yeah.
What's in stock here for us?
Yeah, we had been in touch with some escape room owners in China. We've got some forums, that we all talk about. So it's nice because we can get a perspective from all over the world. And based on what we were seeing in China, we were like, okay, we'll have to close down. Worst case scenario, we have to close down for 2 months. Everything shuts down for 2 months, and then we start up again. And that's kind of what we anticipated. And that was so not what happened.
Yeah, I was talking to some people and they said, okay, you know, in August, everything will be over. I mean, they had this virus in China and they managed to do it within a couple months to just take care of it. But, you know, then we also realized we don't know what they actually all did. I mean, people were locked in their apartments. I mean, they had some very harsh structures and procedures in place to make sure that they would get through this quickly. And I don't think that in America you can do that. I mean, you can't lock people in their houses for 2 months.
Yeah, that's so interesting how specific to like contractor, lumber, that industry. I mean, you do so much international trade or you purchase things internationally, and yeah, that absolutely impacted it. So, Anne, you had mentioned like you all had started sanitizing things, doing social distancing. So before you had shut down for a while, what other conditions kind of made you realize you needed to pivot besides healthcare ones?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it coming. We figured out that something was going to happen, but we weren't sure. I mean, we had no idea what to expect. That first week of shutdown was just terrifying because we didn't know how anything was going to work or how long anything was going to be, and everything seemed to change. It was like an entire year happened in 7 days of new information coming all the time. You know, we had been aware of it. We had been hearing about it. I have a lot of friends. We have a lot of friends in Seattle, but in the gaming industry. And I know Seattle was like really being hit hard at that time. And so we were like, okay, well, this is eventually going to get to us. Now, of course, Champaign-Urbana isn't like a major travel hub, of course, for, you know, flights and stuff. So we were like, okay, well, we'll at least have some advance warning. Like when it starts to get big in Chicago, then we'll know it's going to, you know, filter down to us. But we knew we had time. And just try, I mean, it didn't, not helping us at all because we still had no idea what was happening. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that one. We had no idea what the heck we were doing. Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Johan, do you have anything to add regarding like additional conditions that came up?
You know, pandemic doesn't come across every day. So I hope this one is going to be the only pandemic that I experience in my lifetime. But I would like to add that, I mean, we were working at that time on a big project for a new bakery in downtown Champaign called Suzu's, where we were doing the design and the construction of everything. And we thought, okay, that's going to be a good project. You know, we're going to maybe do another bakery or retail space, restaurant space, you know, that with that experience. But I mean, that bakery didn't even know if they would open. You know, like, I mean, they were trying to start a bakery from scratch and the pandemic hit. They didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what kind of projects we would do after that. So our clients that we work with on commercial product design, they didn't have the sales that they needed. So everything affected in that supply chain for making new products, for bringing products to market, all that is questioned, and nobody's going to invest into new products on that scale. So that whole area of our business, yeah, doesn't look very good.
Yeah. So on that note, so it sounds like you had stopped maintaining that aspect of your business. With that freed up capital and time, what did you end up focusing on?
Well, I mean, the question is what kind of capital? You know, I mean, suddenly the business is gone. There's not really that much capital. But with the time, I think what we did is let's look at things that we have complete control over. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to rely on things that we don't have so much control over, let's do that we can control. So with our product side of our business, we went full steam ahead and started that. I remember Anna made a lot of masks that we sold on the farmers market that ended up being really helpful, and that was a great starting point for the next steps that we then took.
Nice.
I can talk about this now, or I don't know if there's another question that answered that more, but it was essentially, we ended up starting something called the Little Red Hut, which is, it's not a cooperative, but the idea is that it's a place where local makers and businesses can sell items in a pandemic-free way, pandemic-safe way outside. And it replaces sort of like a market or a craft market or a holiday Christmas market, just by putting everything in one booth, having one transaction. It's very safe, and a lot of the people who make things don't have to come out personally, endanger themselves. And we use our skills, you know, design and presenting items in the way that it is successful. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I really like how you phrase that. It's like you gave up what you couldn't control, and then you had to focus on what you could, which was building and manufacturing a hut where you could sell your goods along with other artists. That's a fantastic pivot. Yeah. So, Anne, I'm now curious to hear. So you had mentioned that you had shut down your physical location. So obviously you stopped maintaining that aspect. So what did you focus on?
Yeah, so the first week after we shut down, Chris and I approached it very differently. I was pretty much catatonic, laying on the couch, freaking out. Chris's approach to this kind of situation is to throw himself into a project. So he started trying to develop a at-home game that was, you know, an escape room that you could play in your house, and it ended up being a print and play game where players could, you know, play one of our escape rooms, but do it at home. And that became the Lost Temple, which was hugely popular. And it ended up being just an absolute, you know, we were just trying to do something that would bring in some money, because anything was better than zero. And we didn't know what kind of funds were going to be available. We were very early adopters of the PPP, so we got that really early, which was great because once we started really developing this game, we were able to keep paying our staff to work from home, doing sound design and voiceover and some graphics work and writing and different things that necessarily they weren't, you know, that's not what they did for us normally. They're game masters, but they all have these amazing talents. So that was really great. The way the game works is it's a PDF packet that you can print out. You can also just look at it on your computer screen, but we highly recommend printing it out because there's some fun cutting and assembling pieces to make it really feel tactile, like an actual escape room. And there's a code to log into a website. And so you log into the website and it presents you with a room or a space with different things you can look at. So you say you start in the professor's office, you can look in the desk, you can look in his typewriter, you can look, and you click on these different buttons. And then when you open the desk, it says you open the drawer and, you know, you find page 3. So then you pull page 3 out of your packet, and it really gives you that sense of being in a room and actually finding things and holding things and looking at them and piecing things together. That was really great for us. We decided to make it pay what you want model because we recognized the economic reality of everybody's situation, and everyone really needed just some recreation to do at home. And so it was pay what you want, minimum of $10, which is, you know, normally our games in person are $25 a person or so. So we wanted to make it accessible, and it has been, I don't even have numbers for how much we've sold. Thousands, wow. You know, all across the world, all across the US. We probably get as many from the UK as we do from the US at this point. They love us over there. It's won a whole bunch of awards from escape room organizations. And it's just really amplified our status kind of on the national stage, to the point that I know that people are now planning trips to visit our in-person games because they enjoyed it so much.
That's incredible. So with these new revenue streams, essentially, are you planning on sticking with them? Like, will you continue to do these online virtual games? And Johan, will you maybe continue doing this pandemic safe market for community artists?
So we did a second game called Floor 13 that went over really well as well. And then we kind of expanded on this by doing a product that again Chris thought up in his, you know, amazing brain space. of a puzzle shirt, where it's pretty much like our at-home games, except there's a physical product, and it's all of the game is based on a T-shirt. So not only do you get the game, which is full length, 60 minutes, but you also have a souvenir to wear at the end. And that's full of codes, and people who see it are like always trying to, figure it out. It's a great way to meet other puzzle enthusiasts. So we will probably not do the digital only games so much, but I think we are going to continue with the Solve Our Shirt line, because that has been also very popular. We just about sold out of our first run, so we just had to do a second run order, and we've been putting shirts together for that. We're working on a second one as well. The first one was Labyrinth of the Minotaur themed, where it's kind of Greek mythology, and the second one is going to be pirate themed, which I'm really excited about. Lots of fun stuff there.
Yeah. Well, I love just the T-shirt too, because it has an emphasis. I know so many people are wanting community and networking now that Illinois is slowly opening up. We're having higher vaccination numbers. It's a great way to connect with people and also promote you.
Yeah, and the other thing is, even though it is shipped, we're still able to have people who are, elsewhere around the world and around the globe, play our games, even if they maybe wouldn't be able to make it to Champaign-Urbana to play our regular in-person games.
Yeah, fantastic. So Johan, do you have anything to add?
Well, it sounds awesome. Really, it sounds so exciting. Just an escape game on a T-shirt. I can't imagine how that would work.
It's surprising. It's it's a full length 60 to 90 minute game.
Wow. Have you ever considered outdoor escape rooms?
We thought about it. That was one of the many things we started and stopped during the pandemic. We didn't think we could get it done. We didn't do it over the summer because we were so busy working on Lost Temple. And then we were thinking about doing it for fall, but we couldn't get it. I don't know. We're definitely thinking about it. It is a lot to control because, within the escape room, you can very much control the experience. Within a portable at-home game, you can very much control what people get and what people know is and is not part of the game. Once you get out of that, it's like anything can be a hit, and it's very hard to control and direct people to the right spot. I'm super interested in it. There's some really cool technology out there to help facilitate this, but we're not working on that right now, maybe for the future.
Very cool.
That could be really cool.
Yeah. So talk about the Little Red Hut, Johan, and are you planning on continuing that for the future, or especially with your kind of huge focus within product development and design?
Well, so we're gonna definitely continue this for this year. We said this was a hit the first time, so we're gonna do this again because I already built the hut. I think we made an impact. It was a huge success, and I think that we just want to see if this is really something that has a place here. So we're going to try this out for this year. We are currently open in front of the Common Ground Food Co-op in Urbana for 4 weeks during May, and we will be open again in September during sort of a summer session, and then we'll have a winter session in downtown Urbana again for Christmas. So we'll see how that works. There are some kinks that we're kind of working out in order to make it more efficient and to really highlight different vendors. And also kind of tweaking the business model. But we're going to do that and just see where it takes us. For one thing, what this also gives us is a regular outlet that we can feed with other items. So we can make more of our own products and sell them because those have been popular, and we're kind of running out of products very quickly. And people are asking for new, different things. So we always have to come up with new ideas. But the other thing is also that we just purchased a trailer that we're going to modify into a little mobile Little Red Hut.
Nice.
That looks like a Little Red Hut on wheels that we're going to drag to the farmers market. Because I think that even though people are asking, what about a physical space, like a brick and mortar space? Is that something? But then again, you're indoors and you're very much less flexible. We like the event experience about something that is not there all the time. And with a brick and mortar store, you're also tied to a permanent lease somewhere. And right now, if the pandemic has taught us anything, be flexible.
Yes, absolutely. I know my favorite phrase right now is enforced flexibility. I mean, that's what it was, because I know you both already had websites pre-pandemic, but one thing I'm seeing is just a lot of people just had maybe a Facebook page for their business, but nothing else. But they were like, all right, I guess we have to do this now.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because one thing that we noticed is that even though we put everything online from doing our winter Little Red Hut on a website, everybody could pre-order, pick something up. It was not very popular. People were looking out to get some physical interaction with other people. Even, if you can do it safely, then they will really appreciate it. But humans are social beings. They need to come together and, look at each other when they're talking. And that's a huge deal.
Absolutely. And I'm remembering something else you said. Like, I know sometimes when you're going into a store, like one of the nice things about the Little Red Hut is that there's only a certain amount of vendors, and it's like Anna, so she or you manning the hut, you know who the vendors are, you know how to talk with people and get feedback and then convey that back to the artist. So it's, I mean, it's great market research.
Yeah, it also helps the artist, because you're notoriously bad at selling your own work. That's just the human nature. You always try to, be, if you talk big about your own work, you just come off really weird.
Well, and you also you see the flaws in your own work in a way that you don't see in other people's work.
Exactly. And if you have somebody else who can talk about you in the third person, it just makes you feel good.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So you had mentioned that not a lot of people were going to the website, and people were coming in person. So I'm really curious to see, how did the pandemic really affect how you interacted with your audience, and how did you attract a new one or just new customers? Or what, I guess, also portals, social platforms, did people basically interact with most positively?
Yeah, we have a really strong Facebook presence, and that seems to be where most people interact with us. Now, when we were running games all the time, pre-pandemic, our Facebook feed would mostly just be photos of people who had just played the game. So there was a lot of interaction and organic kind of feedback on that. We had, we've gotten really into the kind of national and international like escape room scene. There's groups of enthusiasts who really like to do this, and other owners everywhere. And so we were able to tap into that network. And the Room Escape Artist is a blog that's kind of nationally, like, that's the source for information. And they reviewed our stuff, and that really helped us a lot. We updated the website with a lot of different stuff. People don't look at the website. That is something I will absolutely agree. Like, some people do, and like, you have to book one of our games. So we reopened in July of last year, July through November, and then we were closed again November through January, and then we reopened again. So, if you're booking online, you do have to go to the website, but people will not read stuff. So we have to, we found that we just had to put, especially safety concerns, like you must wear a mask over your mouth and nose. You must, we ask, that you only book with members of your quarantine pod, stuff like that. We just put that 50 different places, so you can't miss it. You're only going to read it once, but wherever you read it, you're going to see it.
Smart.
Yeah, I think that a big issue is that you have to kind of transform your online presence from where you were able before to just talk to people about what you're doing, about your ideas, about your, you could get your personality across in person. Now you have to do it virtually. So we do post a lot more online, and we also started doing some videos on forum platforms like TikTok, just to kind of bring more presence online. It's slow, but it builds up, and definitely people are interested in, seeing what other people are doing. there's a certain fatigue of people to go shopping online, I guess. I mean, some people are addicted, but I mean, generally, if people looking on things online, it doesn't seem, you don't like to spend hours and hours anymore on looking items. You much more prefer to come to the Little Red Hut, look at items, touch them, like see them in person, chat a little bit with the person. That's a very exclusive experience now. Whereas, I don't know, 10 years ago, buying something online was all the rage,
The thing I love about the Little Red Hut is how curated it is. So when I go there, I don't have to like make a lot of decisions because there's a certain amount of products. I know they're all going to be awesome and cool and interesting, but it's not so much that you're overwhelmed. When you look online, it's like, well, I don't know if this is going to be good or not. I can't make the decision. You really limited the choice in a way that helps so much.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're saying that, because we put a lot of effort into doing just that. And I think that shows. If you go into a store, and you get the feeling that everything is random, then, there's nothing to it. But if you go into a well curated store, you find items that it would take you a lot longer to discover or explore. And that's just really nice if you come to the Little Red Hut, that you can see something for everyone, and they're all going to be good, and they don't compete with each other, but they complement each other.
That's fantastic. So I'm also curious, how has your individual role within your business changed mid-pandemic?
Boy, I had to learn a lot about taxes and credits and grant applications. And I mean, I've been the finance person for the business for a long time. I stay on top of stuff, but holy cow, I had to really learn a lot about, I read so many versions of all of the bills, all of the, pandemic stimulus bills, because we had to stay on it. We had to know like what's coming down the pipeline. How can you plan when you don't know what's coming down the pipeline? And it's been very chaotic. And that has been, I would say, my primary new thing that I've had to like absolutely take charge of, knowing what legislation is coming down and knowing what kind of help we're going to get.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I can just say that too. You have to do a lot more things that you didn't do before. I spent an entire weekend compiling all the information for the PPP loans and going online and finding out exactly what was needed. And sure, there's some help out there, but only for the simple cases. And once you deviate a little bit from the main road, which, I mean, yeah, naturally. So it took a long time to figure that out. Yeah, and then also, I think outsourcing is also another aspect of it. You can't just outsource certain things anymore. For example, childcare. Everything now rotates around our son because he needs to be taken care of. Not all the time, but you need to have somebody within his vicinity to look after him. So that changed just the entire schedule. We're like a little independent island now, where everything is sourced from within. I mean, that changes sort of the aspect of first you could go everywhere, you could outsource childcare, it's taken care of, then you manage something else, and then you go somewhere and do your work. But now you try to do everything from within your personal space, so you don't have to go out. You minimize risk, and you also reduce dependency on other things.
Very cool. Yeah. So kind of wrapping it all up, what specific lessons, let's try to narrow down it to 3, like, have you learned from this crisis?
Hey,
that's a hard question.
I know it is a really hard question. I feel like we should maybe break it down into specific like topics.
I mean, I would say always have a pivot plan. That's, I mean, that's probably good for everybody all the time anyway, but that's something that's really, really sunk in. You know, I've also, the future is not something you can 100% plan for. And it is so important to really enjoy the time you have right now. I think that's something I've learned on a personal level, but also on a business level. Like, enjoy what you're doing now, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. I think I'm just saying YOLO in a fancy way.
The educated YOLO.
The educated YOLO, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Or the YOLO without money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, recommendations I always have 6 months of emergency funds in your savings account. Sometimes it's not enough, but holy cow.
Awesome. I'd say those are 2 good lessons.
I can totally agree with those lessons. I think there's one big thing that we learned, or we got reminded of, is that no matter how bleak it looks, life will always find a way, and it will continue. There were some hard moments where we were worried about our parents, because we are living here in the States. My parents live in Germany, and they're all old, and we were worried. My brother was working in a laboratory in Switzerland, and it came out that some of his colleagues were sick of COVID. So we were worried about him for a while, and then it really hit that, you know, we wouldn't be there, you know, we would be stuck here, more or less, because we couldn't just leave. So that kind of put some things into perspective. But no matter what happens, you know, you will carry on, and will all kind of resolve itself eventually.
I can see you're having trouble not repeating again, life finds a way. We love Jurassic Park here.
That's a classic line from Jurassic Park, and I always go back to it because it encapsulates everything that
really
is
does. Really does. So I'm also really curious. I know it is so difficult for the business owner, entrepreneur to figure out that work-life balance. Would you say that compared to 2 years ago, are you working more? Are you working less? I mean, I know everything has kind of been intermingled and enmeshed. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if you found this to be the case, Johan, but when you work with your spouse, everything's work, but also everything's life. So like,
sure. I mean, everything is work. I often think about it as like farmers do. My grandparents were farmers, and if you have a farm, that's your life. You just don't leave the animals alone. You have to take care of everything all year long. It's just a lifestyle. And I think that if you're a small business owner, your small business is your lifestyle. It just penetrates everything. It's the livelihood of your family, and you just have to accept it. There's no separation between business and your personal life, because it's, you know, it's yours.
Yeah,
both is yours.
I before the pandemic, we had probably over 20 employees. And if something happens, if they can't come in, if they're sick, if, whatever happens, stuff happens, life happens, like, we're the last line of defense. We have to be always ready, no matter where or what we're doing, to drop everything and come back. I mean, it's, I assume, like taking care of a child. I don't have children. But I mean, you just have to be prepared to drop everything and go take care of it, and go be there, and go make sure that things are okay. You are,
in the end, you are carrying the responsibility.
Yeah.
Nobody else does it for you. And I think that's something that you have to grow into and accept, because there's no way that you can not do that and, be happy. If that responsibility is nothing for you, then you're better off working somewhere else, where you just give this responsibility to somebody else. So
it's super worth it, though. It's totally worth it.
I mean, you can just see you both are like Johan said, it's your life, and you're like, it's worth it. I mean, you can see that emotion coming through your face and that passion for what you do, which is
Yeah,
very,
I mean,
that's a successful entrepreneur there.
I mean, it's, there is something more to life, I always say, than just doing a job. So I want to do a job that I like doing, and I think that's incredibly more valuable than a lot of money, but no time. I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think that's great. I often think about, the term career more as a journey than in sort of like a ladder where things go up or become more complicated. You gotta build your little island, build your little farm, and enjoy it.
Awesome. So you both had mentioned that you had applied for PPP loans. Are there other loans that you had applied for or grants that were available locally or regionally?
Yeah, we did PPP twice. We're on our second PPP right now. We also got a business interruption grant, the BIG program from the state, which was so helpful. It came right at the end of the year, and it was a huge relief / Christmas gift to be able to make sure we were current on everything and actually know where our rent's going to come from for the next couple of months, especially since we're closed at that time. Both Champaign and Urbana had really great other programs. We got one through the city of Urbana, and then we got one that through it was through the city through HUD in some way. And so we were able to get some great grants to help facilitate. We also applied for the shuttered venue program, and we won't hear about that until next month though.
Right. So while Johan's chasing after Paul, let's 2-year-olds. So I'm really curious, how did you learn about these? Was there one resource you went to, or was it just, I know you said you were up to the eyeballs in reading all these tax documentation and ordinances? Was there one website that you went to for news on where to apply, or?
Not really. Of course, the SBA website has lists of everything that exists, but we were all kind of seeing what was coming down the pipeline. We have a strong network of escape room owners that we chat about this. We've got a Discord server, and we were sharing information about what we were hearing. And so people were hearing stuff from their small business, their SBA contacts. Of course, Don Elmore is an amazing resource locally. He's always been really fast to get information out to us too.
Yes, and for those not aware, Don Elmore is the president of our local SBDC. And they also I loved their webinars that were just giving people information on what does this mean? Where can you find it? This is how you apply for it. Because again, I mean, nobody is going to be the straight and narrow exact business that fits in all the lines for the PPP or other grants. It was incredible, the information that they were churning out.
I couldn't believe how often Don was doing those. He was doing those every day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And they were different every day because everything was changing every day during the summer.
Absolutely. So Johan, did you utilize any other grants or essentially funding besides PPP?
I think we used PPP and some grant from the city of Urbana. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was, since I was working on a project and Anna was busy with Paul and with some other work, it was kind of hard to keep track of things. And I think we missed the boat on 1 or 2 things, just because we just didn't have the time to follow up on that. And sometimes it's just these applications. I mean, it's great. It sounds like there's a lot of money, but then, it's very specific, or you don't fit into this category.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of funds out there for places to, make their facilities safer, adding cleaning supplies and helping restaurants, move stuff outside. And a lot of that stuff just didn't apply to our business, and I'm sure probably didn't apply to yours. But I mean, I'm grateful that it's out there to help bars and restaurants, do their thing safely too.
Absolutely. And I'm just curious, because I know you were digging deep into these plans. How much time do you think you allotted to filling out these grants and researching about them?
All of it. I had my laptop on the couch at like midnight to 2 a.m. reading through the bill that ended up not being the bill that passed. I mean, what else was I going to do? It was a pandemic. There wasn't a lot going on.
That's true. So
I could not estimate the hours spent. It was a lot. I mean, it was my full-time job for at least a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I believe that. So Johan, Anne had mentioned, I know I keep on, it's like, okay, German Johan, American Anne, we can do this. Anne had mentioned that she had attended some of SBDC's webinars. Were there any resources or courses that you had that you took that really helped kind of figure out where your business should go, what to do during the pandemic? And you can build off of this as well if you took any other ones.
I think I took 2 SBA webinars about different loans. No, I don't think I did many other webinars. Mm-hmm. Maybe I missed some. I don't know. I was just the thing was I was involved in 2 projects that both got delayed because we had some issues with contractors and suppliers. The contractors couldn't find any place to put their kids, so they had to, they were not always ready to come. We sometimes didn't have the materials, so these projects just dragged out, and I spent a lot of time just getting those out of the way, because for example, with the bakery, it wasn't clear if they would even open. So what's the hurry? Things didn't move very fast, and so it just, yeah. So no, I don't think I worked and looked at any other webinars.
Yeah. And did you take any other ones besides?
Not really, just a few SBA ones, different parts of the SBA. A lot of it was because I was so deep into, reading the bills and every single news article that came out about stuff. A lot of it was just the same stuff over and over again.
Right, right. So as far as reading and keeping updated, I'm assuming you both, especially you, Anne, have been learning about the bridge. What's happening right now as far as loosening ordinances. I mean, are you having to, how much do these affect your business? The ones that come out from our mayor's office? Well, because I know Champaign just submitted some. I'm assuming Mayor Fynham of Urbana had also released some, but how often do you check those, and how often do you need to update things? And that also includes you, Johan, in case you want to answer.
So we have always kind of been of the opinion that we're happy to be safer and more restrictive than necessary. And we definitely don't want to be the first people to start loosening things up. So, we check and we try to make sure we know what's going on, but because our occupancy is fairly low for the size of our building, it hasn't been a big issue. We want to go at our own pace and what our game masters are comfortable with, so we're waiting for all our staff to be fully vaccinated to really make too many changes.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Well, for us, I mean, there's not many changes. I think the way we transformed part of our business, for example, to create this Little Red Hut, which is by design, it's pandemic safe. There's nothing really that we would change anymore. I mean, at one point, if that keeps going, people don't have to wear masks outside anymore, which is probably just going to be our advantage, because if people don't like to wear masks inside, they're going to say, oh, where can I go to don't have to wear a mask? So I go there. So.
Absolutely. Anne, I'm really kind of drawn towards, you had mentioned this Discord server and communicating with a lot of other people within your field, within your business. Would you say you're more involved now with these
absolutely,
forums?
absolutely. Yeah, in the past 2 years, business owners have really had to come together to, I mean, why have everybody do the same research when you can just talk to each other and confirm things, especially with so much of the, you know, confusion and delays and the things that keep changing. It's really, really helpful to have a group of people who you trust, who are in the same, you know, industry as you, who you can talk to, you know, and we're not competitors. We're from all over, you know, the country and the world. So it's not even like an industry secrets thing. It's just to be able to talk to people who are having the same problems and having the same struggles as you, and be able to work together to figure out how to solve them is so useful and so helpful.
Mm-hmm. How did you end up finding a lot of these resources or a lot of these groups?
Yeah, well, escape rooms are such a new industry, so I think it definitely started because there were so few of us, and nobody understood what we were doing. But I think I found these, you know, there were groups on Facebook of, you know, escape room enthusiasts, and then there became an escape room owner one, and then from there it went off into a Discord, so it was a little more private.
Yeah. Johan, are you involved in something similar as far as like-minded business owners, or like maybe product designers?
We are the only product designer business here in Champaign-Urbana. No, not really. I think what is important, or what we try to do, is to connect with other little business owners, a small business owner, because you know, when you're a small business owner, your business is your life. And I think that's something that a lot of people can connect to, because it's just, you know, no matter if you roast coffee or have an escape room, or if you have a coffee shop or do something else, I think that's the same. We connected to a lot of the small businesses that we represented in the Little Red Hut in December, and they were all very enthusiastic, and for some, you know, like, we were able to really save their business, you know, and they get them thousands and thousands of dollars in revenue for Christmas. So
That's awesome.
I think that's an element that really connects us there.
Yeah. Well, it's, I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's all local. I mean, the local has a completely new meaning, because supply chains internationally, they're so volatile to a pandemic. You know, for one period, I have a friend who has a lot of apartments, rental apartments. You know, he couldn't get replacement refrigerators for some of his units because they were all sold out. So, you know, you have these weird situations that suddenly come up, and getting something local has now a completely new meaning, especially since so many people are affected by the pandemic, that local business, the local economy is really has really more meaning than it ever had before.
You know, the pandemic has changed the way I think about spending my own personal money. Like, if I'm spending it local, I don't even think about it that I'm spending. I just think about that I'm, you know, I'm helping contribute to cool stuff happening. And it's really changed how I frame, you know, how the local economy works, how we're just handing the same $20 around to the same people, but it makes everybody's lives better.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and I think even just connecting with local business owners, I mean, you're able to commiserate and share experiences and share information about, hey, there's this seminar at SBDC that I went to. So I know a lot of people, they think everyone's my competitor. It gets really intimidating, especially if you're in an industry with a lot of other people in it. But there's so much value by connecting with other business owners and people who are like you. Yeah, that's the big takeaway that I got.
There's often also not that much competition, actually, as you might think, because you know, it's easy to compare items on Amazon if you have, you know, two pictures that are almost identical, and the only thing that differentiates them is the price. But if you work with local businesses, you have so many aspects that make each one unique. You know, like, you know, you maybe have one escape room where people there are just nicer than at the other one. And so, you know, there's really no competition there, because people are not buying the same thing. They're either buying a nice experience or they're, buying an experience with a grumpy salesperson, so
well, escape rooms are a weird situation too, since it's like a show. Once you've seen it, you don't go see it again. So there's no competition in escape rooms, because if you have fun at one escape room, you're going to go play all the escape rooms in the area. So we're not even, good escape. I want all of the other escape rooms in the area to be awesome, because it just means that more people will love it.
It builds the market. It builds the market. And so we just try to be more ourselves and show people what we do. And, I think people appreciate that. So.
That's awesome. Well, do either of you have any other final words or phrases that you'd want to include before we sign off? Because that went through all the questions that we had, that people had submitted, that I had. But yeah.
I have a question for Anne.
Yeah.
So do you think there will be a COVID escape room game?
I think there probably already are some. I don't think we would make one, but I think there were a lot of pandemic themed escape rooms before the pandemic. And I think definitely there are some places that are like, yeah, we're going to roll with this. I prefer to do more fantasy and like, I want to escape reality. And so I don't want to think about that kind of stuff, but there are some real world ones. Yeah. I have a question. Well, I don't have a question for you, but I have a comment for you, Johan. I have so much respect for the work that you do in product stuff, because we've only designed experiences. And this last year we had to start making stuff and shipping stuff. And it was so much work, and it was a totally new skill set I had to learn from nothing. And I have so much respect for people who make products, because it is hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a long chain of things that have to happen. And if one thing goes wrong, you're never going to make it through that long chain. It's definitely a challenge. And even though we are slowly pivoting, once you have established sort of the framework for everything that you're doing, then you can send more things down the pipeline. I was just thinking about this pandemic escape room, because then people already could dress up with masks. And
they've already got their masks.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to any collaborations between you both. I'm sure they'll be excellent if anything does happen. But I just want to thank you both so much for donating some of your time today with us at the Champaign Public Library, and everyone who's attended today. This was incredible to hear about your own experiences within our community and within your separate industries. So a huge thanks from myself and the Champaign Public Library. So
thank you for having me.
Round of applause. Yes, thank you guys so much.
It was great fun.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close us out by reviewing some library information once more. So again, we are open to the public Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday from noon to 6 p.m. You can schedule a one-on-one appointment with any of our librarians at champaign.org/bookalibrarian. You can chat with us during our open hours, or you can email us at librarian@champaign.org. And lastly, I would love it if you could join us at our next business webinar. It's simply just an open house. If you want to talk with me and learn about how the Champaign Public Library can support your entrepreneurial idea, help support your business, maybe you're like, I want to do some market research, target my selected audience. Who is my audience? Feel free to just drop in. It's going to be a great casual time next Thursday. That is not next Thursday. It'll be next Monday, the 17th at 7 p.m. If you can stop by, that'd be wonderful. And I'm Madeline Wolski. I'm the business librarian here, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. So, and again, a huge thank you to both Anne Lukeman and Johann Rischau. So how can people contact you both if they want to know more about what you do?
You can check out our website at cuadventures.com. If you want to email me, it's just info@cuadventures.com, the email address that's on that website.
Great.
Yeah, and you can just get in touch with us through our website, norden-design.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok.
Great. Well, thank you both again and have a wonderful Thursday.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you too. Thank you very much.